We're so glad you're here. Welcome everyone to the emotional empath journey, or the empath emotional journey. Both ways work for today's show on Hidden Superpowers. I'm your host, Ashley Lee, and I'm so excited and emotional to be here with you today. This is one of my near and dear topics of conversation. I'm pretty sure they might be near and dear for you and for everyone in your environment. Let's dive into what it is to be an empath. Let's start with what defines us as being an empath. Sometimes this can seem very complicated, but in actuality, really, an empath really is a person who experiences very deeply, very viscerally, very physically the emotional energies of another or themselves, that you can feel your own emotions, right? So in this photo, in this depiction, you get this idea that the paint represents, right? That powder paint that she's being dusted with is an example of an emotion, right? Maybe clarity, synchronicity, a full expression of the person. And their emotion of that expression is coming into her body. It's literally laden on her physical body. So she can feel that person's blue energy, for example, as she's expressing her magenta and yellow and blue and other emotional feelings out to the world, as this paint represents, right? Or these colors represent, is that she can literally walk into the cloud of another person's emotions and feel them physically in her body. Some of us didn't know we could do that. And some of us feel very challenged with that. So let's go deeper into the idea of what is emotional energies, right? It's kind of an interesting, ubiquitous word, emotional energy. Well, think of it as kind of like a telepathic energy where we send brain waves out, we send out thoughts that are either confused or specific. We can have emotions that are either confused or specific. And sometimes they look like this slide, the back screen of this slide is this paint like coming across the canvas of our lives. And this paint, this powder paint representing emotions, can be a lot of emotions mixed in to that delivery of sending it out to the world. And so we're going to talk more deeply about emotional energies. The emotional energies really start with inside of us, as this woman is depicting what? Love, exuberance, openness, right? She's completely opened her chest, become, if you could call, vulnerable or open to the world. She's like literally opening her heart, opening her body to experiencing the earth, the sun, the clouds, everything in her environment she's opening up to. And inside of that sense of opening with such glee, right, and exuberance and happiness, what happens, we start to feel this physically through our body. Our brain and nervous system is actually able to take this in, and we can sense this through our body. It feels tingly, it feels opened, it feels, in this person's situation, maybe airy, maybe free, free to breathe, free to open, free to express. When we experience these emotional energies physically in our body, we can't help it but really to express that to the world. And this is where the balloons really illustrate the ideas that we have these emotions. They're inside our body. We can physically feel them and sense them. And then all of a sudden, they become a bigger part of our experience, a bigger part of our energy, and they get released out into the air. They get released out into our environments as our emotions. And as these balloons depict, again, they can be a variety of emotions that we're sharing with the world around us. When we share emotions with one another, we literally can influence each other. And quite honestly, the greatest level of influences that we experience as humans is shared emotions, right? It's really easy, pretty easy to become happy in an environment where everybody's jumping, singing, dancing, and celebrating. It's really easy to become down, depressed, sad, helpless, homeless inside ourselves when we're around others or situations that we may perceive as chaotic, down, not okay, angry, or depressed, right? So our emotional energies not only influence ourselves and how we experience the world, they also we influence each other. And that's some of the journeys that an empath takes. That person that experiences other people's emotions. And so I want to talk for a moment about the idea of clearing negative emotions. When we experience emotional distortions, and why would a negative emotion be an emotional distortion? Because actually, and quite frankly, it is our true nature to experience love, to share support, compassion, and understanding with one another. It is really not inherently our true nature, even though we are human and we do have negative emotions. It's not our true nature to express negative emotions, upset, confusion, discord, anger, disagreement, misunderstandings. Those are where we have elements of distorted thoughts, distorted beliefs, distorted value systems that impact our negativity. And we also have a variety of negative emotions that we can feel. And what does that feel like? It doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel okay. It doesn't feel good to have a negative emotions. Well, negative emotions can be supportive in our environment, right? It can stimulate us to create a change. And as an empath, we have special considerations to take in through this process because I ask a lot of empaths, I work with a lot of empathic people that are highly intuitive and can feel literally in their body other people's emotions. And it feels rather uncomfortable. That's why interrelationally, when we work with one another, you'll notice it's the empath that wants to solve the negative emotion issue between two people really rapidly. They either cope and disassociate or move away or hide or pretend that this is not happening, right? Denial. Or we move to problem solving very, very rapidly. I represent that consciousness. So when people are having negative emotions, I want to solve the problem right away. It isn't always in the best interest of myself or others to do that tactic. And at the same time, I get to catch myself and recognize, oh, I'm wanting to problem solve these negative emotions immediately because they feel uncomfortable. So instead, how do we clear these negative emotions, right? We breathe in, we say, it's okay, I'm feeling a negative emotion. It's okay. I can feel them of the other person. And what if in just a moment of this interaction, I can recognize that this negative emotion that I'm either creating or the other person is, or together we are, that we can recognize, well, there's a problem, there's a discord, there is a conflict, there is a problem. And since there is a problem, this negative emotion is alerting us to help us problem solve. So I have a tendency to go right to the problem solving and let go of the emotion and feel less of the emotion. I know inherently that it doesn't serve me, it doesn't serve my body or anyone else's to experience these negative emotions for a long time. But I've also deeply worked through many areas of releasing the idea that I'm a victim to these negative emotions. And so it's a little bit easier for me to do that. And I get to recognize in others that they may not have gone through the training, the learning, the inner work that can help us when we're removing these negative emotions from our body, recognizing, there's a problem. Okay, I can solve it. It's okay. I can work with it. And I can breathe in, and literally with breath, I can let out that emotion. And even if a part of me wants to keep it, like my emotional self or my ego self or some other part of me wants to keep the negative emotion, I can recognize, okay, if I want to keep it, there's a belief that I have behind all that that says, no, they have to fix their emotions first. No, they have to fix the problem since they gave it to me. No, whenever there's a no or negation of the negative emotions to releasing it, it's because we have a belief behind it, keeping us stuck in those negative emotions. So I support you. We support you. The world supports you in recognizing it's okay. You have a belief. It's okay. You have to believe that that person who did bad things has to pay the price, get punished, or fix themselves before I can feel better. But today we're going to experience how we don't have to wait for that other person to fix themselves or this crowd to fix themselves in order for us to feel better. We can actually choose to clear our negative emotions. Take a deep breath in, like in this young girl's experience. Maybe she's experiencing everybody's emotions that isn't even related to her, right? She's in a crowd. And so, what if humanity does have a lot of negative emotions? And what if inside crowds, empaths are challenged to be around people with negative emotions, agendas, rush, 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 push, 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 right? We've had a break from this sort of behavior for a little while now on the planet, which is a nice reprieve for our empaths. And we take a moment when we go back out into the world and we take a deep breath in and we go, it's really okay. They've got theirs. I've got mine. I'm afraid to feel everybody's emotions. And they're having trouble with their emotions. They're having challenges with their emotions. What if we can breathe out their emotions that we feel or we sense, their hurry, their rush, 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 their gotta do. And we let that go and we go, I'm in a crowd that feels rushed. I'm in an environment where people are hosting negative feelings. I want to be back on that beach where everybody's singing and dancing and clapping and being happy. And in the meantime, I'm in the middle of this crowd right now. What shall I do? I can take my hands off my face and my eyes. I can see the world for what it is. It's okay. People are having negative experiences. I can let those go out of my body. I can bring my emotional energy in. I don't have to spread it out so far and so wide to experience the world. And I can truly choose to have the feelings I would like to have related to this experience, and it can be okay. And one of them can be I can just simply, calmly, supportively, supporting, loving myself and all the others around me, that it's going to be okay for them and it's certainly okay for me. And I can choose to walk forward in life. Maybe not always putting myself in these environments that overwhelm me as I learn how to work with my empathic abilities. So, in this situation, I ask empaths, when you're feeling an uncomfortable feeling, is it yours or is it somebody else's? And in this case, she feels bombarded by everyone else's rushing, negative, overwhelming emotions. What is the impact if we keep negative emotions inside of us? Well, the largest impact, quite honestly, is ourselves. Our physical body becomes distorted energetically. Our hormones get out of balance. Our neurotransmitters get all funny. Our brain waves get all distorted. our brain and nervous system starts to kind of fall apart and lose sense of reality. Our reality gets distorted, our mental thoughts get distorted. We start to lose the ability to problem solve. And it can linger and last for hours, days, months, years, decades, all the way to even a lifetime, when traumatic negative emotions have affected us and stayed present in our energetic body. So let's support how we get out of these and really shift and change these. One thing is really, truly, this is my empath golden rule, is we are the source of our feelings. Now, I've got a great saying here. Others and life circumstances are not the source of my feelings. I am the source of my feelings, except for the empath when they're absorbing other people's feelings. And that's why you get to discern whose feelings is whose. And sometimes it's challenging to discern whose feelings is whose. I call it who's who in the zoo of negative feelings or the zoo of overwhelming feelings. Sometimes even a happy feeling comes over me and I'm going, I don't remember generating a happy feeling. I was kind of really peaceful and calm and doing my thing. And all of a sudden I feel exuberantly. I'm like, oh, someone else feels happy around me. That's really cool. Who is that? I could tune in because some part of me picked up on their even happy emotions. And so, as this illustrates, and these are these paints, right? These powders that we can choose from. These colors represent a consciousness, not only paint colors, but they represent a consciousness. And they represent emotions. And which emotion in the candy store of feelings would you like to experience? And quite frankly, did you know you have a choice of what kind of feeling you'd like to have? So I'd like to share this thought with you that is really, I think, very, very vital to the situation at hand. When we recognize we are the source of our feelings, and we recognize that others or life circumstances, even though they may be triggering, right? They may be incredibly influential, especially negative feelings are incredibly influential amongst each other. Why? Because we're social beings. We like to be together, we like to be around each other, and we like to share, quite honestly. And sometimes we share more of our negativity than maybe our positivity. I know when I was younger, I was so overwhelmed with my sensory inputs about my superpowers that I got very confused about who's who in the zoo and what was happening. I didn't even know I was confused. I thought they were all mine. But sometimes they aren't. And at the same time, though, emotionally, from an emotional wisdom standpoint, when we recognize that others and life circumstances are not the source of my feelings, they may be triggering and they may be influential. It's because I have a set of beliefs that when you're yelling and screaming at me, I have a belief, right? That I can get triggered and get mad and say it's not okay to do that. Well, I can get triggered and I can get mad and I can be human and I can say it's not okay to do that. And I can recognize, oh, I source the anger of someone yelling at me. What if I had another opportunity to go, this person is yelling and screaming at me. It really doesn't feel good. I can feel it through my body, their anger, their upset. And I can take a deep breath. I can remain calm. I can understand that they want to express their feelings, their anger. I may or may not have done anything. It could be a lot of different situations that had occurred. And so in that meantime, I can be compassionate. I can release myself of my own judgments and then the judgments of the other that's pointing those negative emotions or throwing that paintball at me and wanting me to experience their anger. So instead, I can gently, softly, supportively smile and say, I hear you. I feel you. I feel your anger. It's okay. Thank you for sharing it. It gives us an opportunity to have a conversation about how you feel dissatisfied about what I am doing or what you're doing or what's happening in your life. And I think it's wonderful that you had the opportunity to share. Would you at that moment like to release your anger and your emotions so that we can get to the heart of the problem, so that we can get to the root or the source of what's sourcing your feelings, feeling uncomfortable? I know those aren't usual conversations we have in everyday experiences, huh? Especially with somebody, I don't know, flicking us off when we're on the freeway. But for example, we could still, even if they're driving by and they're doing some, not so happy sign language towards us, what if we could send them love and compassion and understanding that they may be overwhelmed, recognizing that many times we take angered or negative emotions from other people as very personal. It's all about us. And I can tell you some of the challenges, that's why I call this a journey of being an empath, is many of us as empaths have grown up feeling that the world is against us. The world is here to take us out. The world is here to experience so much anger and violence and misunderstanding that, we had something to do with it. Well, sometimes we may have. We may resemble that consciousness challenge of adding to the problem. And at the same time, we may be a bystander, so to speak, in their experience. Okay. So with this woman that she so beautifully painted herself with emotions and literally wearing that magenta purple color was spattered with some turquoise, yellow, and green, which is beautiful, is she's sharing that she can wear her emotions in her body, on her skin, that she can be an emotional being and not be afraid to share emotions. Because the flip side of recognizing that we are the source of our feelings gives us a tremendous power. And that power is that when we're feeling a negative feeling or we're feeling the feeling of another person, we have the power to let it go. We have the power to shift it out of our bodies physically with breath work, with meditation, with centering, with grounding, with going outside in nature, with maybe moving away from the stimulus that influenced our feelings. We have so many choices of how to work with feelings now. So I invite you to really embody your empathic self, your ability to feel your own feelings and your ability to feel others, and know that you are the source of it and that you can work with them. And since you're the source of your feelings and you recognize in the moment that maybe you are carrying another person's feelings inside of you, you have the opportunity to let that feeling go and recognizing with your very intelligent brain and very intelligent heart that you know who it is, you know what it's about, and you know how to resource them in changing, adjusting their feelings, their thoughts, and ultimately their beliefs to support them in reframing them into a sense of higher truth, higher understanding. It is a journey. And it can be very beautiful because as we wear our feelings, as we share our emotions, recognizing truthfully that emotions accelerate physical manifestation. If you're happy, you're going to experience more happiness and keep that moment going, whether that's a conversation, an experience, or a relationship. If it's negative, you might keep it going until you problem solve that situation. I support you in letting go of the negative emotion so that you can problem solve in the candy store of feelings, standing in your power rather than standing in the negative emotion. Let's talk for a moment, which I think is very, very valuable as information and understanding for an empath, is leaving emotional energetic imprints. What do I mean by that? Well, this is a very advanced concept, and I think it's very valuable to share this in this moment on our show about the journey of being an empath. So visualize this woman walking on the beach, and as she's walking through the sand, the wet sand, as the waves lap up onto the sand and the shore, you notice she's leaving footprints. So those are physical footprints that are left in the sand. But now imagine her energetic, her emotional, energetic body, which she carries with her. She leaves a round of paint around her, even though her legs are clean, her feet are clean, except for some sand morsels on her feet. And in this idea, what kind of emotion do you sense that she has with this photograph of her walking on the beach? I sense by looking at her muscle tone, looking at the way she's walking, that she's peaceful, calm, and serene. Those are emotions, aren't they? They're very neutral, natural, loving emotions. So think of this, each footprint that at the bottom of her feet, she has that color. What is that color? Is that color blue, green, yellow? So she's leaving some of those colorful emotional energies as imprints on her footprints in the sand. That's what we do. When we have a conversation with someone and we end it and we walk away, what emotional imprint did you leave at the exit of that conversation? Whether that was face to face, telephone to telephone, or Zoom call, video call, or telepathically or empathically. How did we think about that person? How did we feel about that person? And what did we leave as a residue behind when we finished or completed the conversation, the experience with that person or persons or groups of people, or with the land and the earth? How did we feel about the sand when we were walking through it? What did we leave as our imprint in the world? Did you know that you have a choice of what kind of energetic imprint you would like to leave in your world and your experiences? I would like to make a suggestion that everyone can leave an imprint of watering, supporting, nurturing that experience we just had with ourselves, each other, and the world around us. That we can leave each experience we have, each conversation we have, with an empowered state of being that is love, peace, honor, respect, integrity, cleanliness, peacefulness, support. How will you leave your emotional, energetic imprints in your interactions for your day today? Now, I want to share for just a moment about conscious choice with your emotional expressions. What do I mean by that, right? We were just talking about that. Well, in this, with the paint again, how would you like to gather the emotional energies within inside yourself to express to the world how you feel? Some of these, I think, kids or young adults, what did they pick? Some picked yellow, some picked magenta, and some picked a mixture in between. So what are those emotions will we consciously choose to express in our everyday experiences? Because they do impact us. They impact the lenses, the filters in which we see the world through. They also impact each other. And how will we dress up our world with our conscious choice emotions? How will we share and fling them into the world. Shall we share positive, supportive emotions towards one another? Or are we going to fling negative, awful emotional experiences to each other when we're upset, when we're angry, when we feel out of control? We do have conscious choice. And I want to share with you in this idea of conscious choice, we really do. We're dedicated through the Brain Integration Institute.com. We are very dedicated in creating psychic self-care, psychic support, and in this situation, empathic support for your abilities to express your emotions. We have an ebook that is exquisite. It's very short. It's very easy to read. You can download it to your phone. It's at the brainintegrationinstitute.com/psychic support. Please feel free to peruse the website, to gather blogs, podcasts, and all kinds of information to support your abilities, your hidden superpowers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I so enjoyed sharing some of the valuable aspects of what it is to be an empath and how you have the ability to master these skill sets.